In 2021, I quit my 9-to-5 corporate engineering job and fell victim to anti-hustle culture. And you might be thinking right now, wait, she must have meant to said she almost fell victim to hustle culture, right? Nope, I meant what I said. And not only did I just fall victim to anti-hustle culture, it was this exact mentality that almost led me down the path that I know I would have regretted for years to come afterwards. You may have heard some pretty depressing statistics about the state of work culture in America as well as the world. 60% of workers are emotionally detached at work, and 50% of American workers are feeling stressed on a daily basis from their jobs. And you may have heard that anti-hustle culture is the solution to this problem. But what is anti-hustle culture? It's a movement that took the US by storm in the past couple of years around the time of the Great Resignation and the quiet quitting movement. And it challenges the societal belief that constant busyness and productivity are the only ways to lead to success and fulfillment in life. So instead, it encourages individuals and workers to prioritize self-care, their mental health, and overall work-life balance over excessive work and constant hustling. Sounds great, right? Who wouldn't want to rest, relax, enjoy their life more instead of working themselves to the bone? Well, maybe, but there's a bit more to the story. Many people have focused on the pandemic as what led to this rise in the anti-hustle culture movement. The culture of busy had been replaced by the culture of slow. And while there is some truth to this, I think there's something huge missing from the equation. I really experienced this firsthand. At the height of the pandemic back in May of 2020, I had just graduated from college and was expecting to have my college graduation, move up to DC for my new job, and start my big girl life post-college. So of course I'm expecting to move to the big city, have an exciting, extravagant life. You know, I wasn't making crazy money for what it costs to live in DC, but I thought I was gonna have a busy, exciting lifestyle. After being in school and trying to graduate as quickly as possible, I was in full-time classes, working between 20 and 35 hours a week on average, all while also trying to pursue hobbies and other things, keep a relationship going, have friends, have a life. It was a pretty busy lifestyle, and I had grown very accustomed and used to it. So when the pandemic happened, everything paused for everyone. My classes went online, my move to DC got extended, we didn't have any type of college graduation, and my life became a very small bubble where I was home 24/7, much like everybody else in the world. But what happened for me is as I was preparing for this huge life transition, it all went a lot slower. I moved to DC slowly over time instead of all at once, and found myself in a studio apartment all by myself in a big city, not really doing much. I wasn't meeting new people, I wasn't going to the office and hanging out with my coworkers. I was working and then living a slow life in the evenings. I would cook my dinner slowly, live my life slowly. Me and my husband decided to elope on our own because we just were in the mode of slow. And of course, you know, there was a pandemic, I'm aware, but things really did just truly slow down. But over time, the fast-paced life started to come back. And while during the slow time, I was pretty satisfied with how things were going in my life, as things started to pick up, I started to realize that I wasn't happy. Going back into the office, work trips restarting, and all of the other things that started to come back into our lives as things went back to normal, I started to notice that I wasn't excited for this anymore. I had led myself to believe that this is exactly what I had wanted my entire life. I was excited to get into the corporate world. I was excited to move to a big city. And once I had it and I had experienced the slow, the fast wasn't as appealing anymore. As time continued to go on, I realized what was missing from my life. During the time of slow, I had the space to reflect on what actually mattered to me and why I was even doing any of the things I was doing. And so as things went back to normal, I realized that the life I had created for myself was not aligned with what I actually wanted. I had started a YouTube channel, brainstormed my life goals and my dreams, and started to picture what things could look like if I finally took charge and did what I actually wanted. Because of that year where the shiny parts of my new corporate job had been stripped away, I was able to see it clearly for what it actually was. I had been hustling my whole life, and now I was unhappy. But it wasn't because I was hustling. I was unhappy because I was hustling towards the wrong thing, the wrong goals, the wrong life. So in 2021, I found myself stuck in a 9-to-5 job that had me anxious, stressed, and completely miserable and disengaged from my life. And one of the really bad habits I picked up while I was in that 9-to-5 job was drinking 3, sometimes 4 cups of coffee in a day. I'd really picked up that caffeine addiction that comes from the corporate 9-to-5 grind. So as we go into the next section of this story, something that I decided to prioritize in my life was to finally try to break that caffeine addiction. And while I was someone who really wanted to just, only drink 1 cup of caffeine in general during the day, I had grown up drinking daily cups of coffee since 3rd grade. So this was not going to be an easy feat for me, and definitely not something I was just going to jump into all at once. And then I discovered Magic Mind, which is a small productivity shot that you can take on the go. Its base is matcha, and it has adaptogens and nootropics that help to keep you focused, energized, without feeling jittery and anxious like I do whenever I drink too much coffee. Something I love about Magic Mind is that they align with me in the principle that they want us all to find happiness through living life to the fullest, which requires us to have days where we're really productive. And the formula of Magic Mind was created in a way so that we could have that productive kick and that caffeine kick in a much healthier way than drinking excessive amounts of coffee. So this was one part of hustle culture that I decided I was ready to unsubscribe to. And as I switched into drinking Magic Mind for my second and only other source of caffeine for the day, I noticed a drastic difference in my ability to fall asleep at night, as well as to actually work for a sustained period of time instead of having a burst of energy and then crashing in the afternoon. So if that is something that you struggle with as well, I highly, highly recommend trying out Magic Mind. I love to put mine in a glass of milk and have it like a matcha latte. It tastes absolutely amazing, but if you're someone who's on the go and you like to just get things done quickly, you can literally just take the shot straight as if it's a juice shot and get your energy kick in the next 3 to 5 minutes, which is absolutely crazy if you think about it. So if you have not yet tried Magic Mind, then make sure to head down in the description box below to check out the link to purchase your first order, and you can use my code PaigeW20 to get 20% off. The story of the founder of Magic Mind is actually so inspiring to me, and one that I really relate to. He was drinking excessive amounts of coffee, and it got to a point where it was actually affecting his health. He ended up in the hospital and had to find a different way to be able to stay productive without affecting his health in a negative way. So he created Magic Mind with that goal in mind, of allowing people to get that burst of energy that they might need later on in the day, and not only give them the energy, but also the clear-headed, focused attention that is something I personally don't find coffee gives me. If you want to read more about the story, I would head down to their website as well, because they have the whole story on there, and I just think it's really amazing how he has put so much love into this company and the formula as well, and they have changed it and tweaked it over time, and it only gets better and better. But let's get back to the best part of this story. After realizing how miserable I was in my 9-to-5 job, I decided to just pull the plug and quit. I saved up a good chunk of change and made somewhat of a plan for a way to make money after quitting, and I made the switch from a corporate engineering job to doing gig work. I started shopping for Instacart and Rover pet sitting to be able to pay the bills while I figured out exactly what I wanted to do for my business. My YouTube channel was not yet monetized. I had no clients, so I literally had nothing set up whenever I fully left the job and entered this new world. I took a leap of faith knowing that gig work could sustain us through the last 8 months of our lease in DC, along with that cushion of money that we had saved up, and just really crossed my fingers and hope for the best. But then something happened that I really did not expect. As I dove into the world of no longer having to answer to anyone, I found myself actually starting to see the appeal of anti-hustle culture. And if you've been around on my channel for a while, one of my first videos that I posted that really blew up for me was my video about how I quit my 9-to-5 job. But the catch was that I didn't do it because I didn't dream of labor, because I did not relate or did not understand fully the thought behind anti-hustle culture or the Great Resignation or the I don't dream of labor movement. I was quitting for reasons that in my head had nothing to do with the societal movements that were going on at the time relating to work in America. But after quitting, I was able to truly rest and embrace this new flexibility of being able to work when I wanted and not work when I didn't want to, being able to rest and relax when I needed the time. And with that cushion of money behind me, it was a lot easier to stop pushing and grinding 24/7, and it felt really good. But then I became less and less interested with this idea of starting and growing a business, and really was beginning to doubt whether it was even possible. As our lease end date came closer and closer, and my ability to make money through freelancing or my business became smaller and smaller, I started to look for normal jobs again. And once we decided we were moving to Florida, I was on Indeed looking for new jobs and applying. The catch was that I was now looking for jobs that I knew would allow me to continue to sustain this flexible anti-hustle culture mentality that I had begun to adopt. I wanted a job that I could go to, do my work and leave, get my paycheck and live my life elsewhere. I moved away from the I live to work mentality and gone into the work to live mentality. I just wanted to get the money and then go do whatever else I wanted with it after work. So there was this job that came up and I applied to it, and it seemed like the perfect fit. It was a huge pay cut from the money I was making at my old corporate job, but it was at a small college, so I knew I was going to be in a much less stressful environment, and that seemed really appealing to me. So I applied for the job and I ended up getting an interview. So I did my first phone interview, and it was really interesting because the way the interview went was initially really good and really positive, but at the end of the call, the guy said to me, this guy who would have literally been my boss, "Paige, I really think that you don't want this job." And I was just shocked because I was like,
"What do you mean? I'm applying to the job. Of course I want the job."
And he was like, "You might think you want this job, but it's really clear to me that you want way more than this job." And it was just so shocking to hear this from someone that I had only talked to for about 15 minutes and had read my resume. And now he might have been thinking in his head that I was overqualified or XYZ. But for me, this was a huge kick in the face because I had accepted and decided that this business thing was probably not going to work for me. I was going to go back to a normal full-time job, have the safety net of a salary, have the benefits, and live my life happily outside of work. But as days went on after this, and I really didn't hear much else from him, I started to realize he was right. I was applying for a job for the wrong reasons, and it was never gonna get me to the place that I actually wanted to be. It was only gonna keep me safe in my current day-to-day situation, but it wasn't my goal, and it wasn't my dream, and it was never going to allow me the life that I really wanted to live. I had applied to this job out of fear, not out of excitement. Would it have allowed me a simple, slow life? Sure. But was it aligned with my goals? With my why? Was it going to get me to my ideal self? No, it wasn't. And that's when I had an epiphany. I had fallen victim to anti-hustle culture. And although it had brought me more peace and restfulness and time to heal than I have ever had in my entire life, it had on the flip side brought me complacency and doubt in my abilities and even resignation to the lies that I would never achieve the life that I really wanted. So does that mean that the answer is to just hustle and grind and be miserable in the day-to-day? No, definitely not. But for me, anti-hustle culture was not the answer either. So when our lease ended and we moved back to Florida, I took those insights from that interview and I embraced them wholeheartedly. I went full steam ahead working on my goals, and within a few months, I was able to match my old 9-to-5 income from my corporate job. And now 1 year later, I'm actually doubling my 9-to-5 income. And it's not all about the money. I've actually learned to enjoy work again. And although of course I have trials and stressful days, a lot of the times I'm just so grateful that I have this flexibility to work for myself and work with clients that I really love, and to be able to say yes and no to things. Instead of feeling drained and lost and like I had really no purpose in life but to make money at a job and come home and spend it, I now am living my life in a way that is aligned with my values. I am taking what I like to call aligned action on a daily basis. And I truly know and believe if I had continued to stay in the anti-hustle culture mentality, my business would not be where it is today. If I didn't grind every once in a while, as they call it, and put in the hours and the hard work, I would never have surpassed or even matched my old 9-to-5 income. And the worst part about that is that even though I have had to have some stressful days, and you guys have all seen me posting about it on my channel, you can go back and watch, I have had the flexibility and the financial stability from saving up money again by making more than my 9-to-5 job to actually take breaks when I need them and to go on trips if I need to and to take time off that is, unpaid when you work for yourself. And that is something that I would never have had if I had taken the pay cut, worked in the salaried job, doing something that I had no passion or drive for, and that never would have led me to actually reach my goals and my ideal self. So what I'm saying is, instead of being a anti-hustler or a rise and grinder, I'm proposing that you take a middle ground and instead decide that you're willing to hustle and grind for something that you truly care about and something that is aligned with what you want for your future self and your family. This, in my opinion, is what truly brings fulfillment on a day-to-day basis. It's about enjoying the journey and enjoying the process. When we're hustling for something that we don't actually want, then we're not going to enjoy the journey or the process. Of course, no matter what, there's always going to be things we don't want to do, but it all is worth it when it's for something that is actually aligned with what you want in your life. So what does that even look like on a weekly basis? It means less time scrolling on my phone mindlessly and binging TV that I don't even enjoy. It means saying no to things that I am not excited about and not wasting time on people that don't add anything to my life. And while that might sound harsh to some, it means respecting yourself and respecting your time and being more intentional with what you do on a day-to-day basis. It means spending less distracted time trying to work and more time focusing and actually getting things done so that you do have more time in your day to do the things that make you feel rested and at peace. So what I want to end with is this. The issue has never been the hustling. The issue has been the misalignment with your why. So what do I want you to take from this? I want you to ask yourself, if you are currently in a position where you feel like you've been hustling and grinding and you're miserable in your day-to-day life, ask yourself what it is you're actually hustling and grinding for. Are you working towards something that you truly want for yourself and your family? Or are you just hustling and grinding because you somehow found yourself moving through life and you got to the place you're at without really thinking? Because that's where I was at when I was in my 9-to-5 job. And if you're in the other boat and you're in the anti-hustle mentality and you find yourself feeling lost and directionless, then I would challenge you to consider what your why is. And that doesn't mean you have to go quit your job if it's not something that's aligned with your future goals, but what it might mean is adding on a small side hustle if that's gonna help you reach your ability of making a little bit of extra money from your art hobby. And I already know that people are gonna make a comment about making money from your hobby, but that's why you have to ask yourself why. What is it that you want? What is your ideal self? If you could have your life look any way that you want, what would it look like? And is what you're doing today getting you closer to that goal? Because if it's not, then I promise you, no matter whether you're hustling or anti-hustling, you're not gonna feel fulfilled on a daily basis. So I'm curious, let me know in the comments down below whether you are a anti-hustler or a rise and grinder. I have now decided I'm in the middle, and I hope this video has helped you kind of see both sides and maybe bring yourself to the middle ground as well. But that's all I have for you guys in today's video. I wanna thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.